In the previous session, we explored how the Constitution organizes political power through three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The founders designed this structure to prevent the concentration of power, recognizing that human nature is noble, yet flawed. Once government power is structured and limited, another question naturally follows. What rights must government never violate? This question brings us to the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution. When the Constitution was first written in 1787, it did not include a specific list of individual rights. Some leaders believed such a list was unnecessary because the Constitution already limited federal power. However, many Americans were not convinced. Several states, particularly Virginia, Massachusetts, New York, and North Carolina, feared that the new national government might eventually become too powerful and threaten individual liberty. During the ratification debates, critics such as Patrick Henry, George Mason, and Samuel Adams insisted that the Constitution must clearly protect essential freedoms. In states such as Virginia and Massachusetts, ratification was approved only after supporters promised that amendments safeguarding individual rights would soon be added. Responding to these concerns, James Madison introduced a series of amendments in the First Congress. These proposals eventually became the Bill of Rights in 1791, ensuring that certain liberties would remain beyond the reach of government power. The founders believed these freedoms were natural rights, also called unalienable rights, rights that exist because human beings are created by God. The Bill of Rights does not grant these freedoms. It recognizes and protects them from government intrusion. The Bible illustrates this idea of natural rights long before political philosophers described it. A powerful example appears in Acts 5:27-32. In this passage, the apostles were brought before the Jewish ruling council because they were preaching about Jesus. The authorities ordered them to stop teaching in his name, but Peter responded with a bold declaration: "We must obey God rather than human beings." This moment reveals a principle later expressed in natural rights philosophy. The apostles believed their responsibility to proclaim the gospel came directly from God. No human authority had the ultimate right to forbid them from obeying God's command. Their freedom to preach did not come from government permission. It came from their relationship with God. I once experienced the importance of this freedom firsthand. About 10 years ago, during a mission trip to China, our team helped host a summer Bible camp for students. Nearly 100 young people had gathered to learn about the Bible. Suddenly, local police arrived. Sharing the gospel with children and youth was considered illegal in China. We quickly moved the students into the attic and basement to hide them while the authorities searched the building. In that moment, the meaning of religious freedom became painfully clear. My heart was pounding as I worried about the possible consequences, not only for us, but especially for the local church leaders who could face severe prison penalties. Thankfully, after walking through the building, the police did not find the students and eventually left. The next day, we had to move to a different location to continue the summer camp. That experience left a deep impression on me. It reminded me that in many parts of the world, people do not enjoy the freedoms that Americans often take for granted. The American founders believed that because human beings are created in the image of God, they possess dignity and conscience. Natural rights therefore exist before government is formed. Governments do not create these rights. They exist to protect them. This understanding shaped the American Bill of Rights. When we look at the first 10 amendments, we see that most of them protect natural freedoms. The First Amendment protects freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. The Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms. The Third and Fourth Amendments protect the privacy of homes and property from government intrusion. The Fifth through Eighth Amendments protect due process and fair treatment in the justice system. Finally, the Ninth and Tenth Amendments remind us that the rights listed in the Constitution are not the only rights people possess. Many rights remain with the people themselves. Taken together, The Bill of Rights forms a powerful shield around natural liberty. But modern political discussions increasingly focus on a very different idea: entitlement rights. Entitlement claims usually involve government promises to provide goods or services such as financial assistance, housing programs, healthcare subsidies, or other benefits. While these policies may attempt to address social needs, they are fundamentally different from natural rights. Natural rights limit government. Entitlements expand government. Natural rights protect freedom from government control. Entitlements require government to collect resources from some people and redistribute them to others. I encountered the importance of this distinction personally during my campaign for state representative a few years ago. As I spoke with voters across my district, I noticed that many people did not clearly understand the difference between natural rights and entitlement rights. Living in Massachusetts, which has developed one of the most extensive welfare systems in the country, I often heard people say things like, "I have a right to this benefit," or "the government should provide that." Many assume that if something was desirable, housing, healthcare, financial support, or education, then it must automatically be a right. At the same time, I witnessed another important debate in the state legislature. In 2023, the Massachusetts legislature considered bills that would eliminate religious exemptions for vaccination. I testified before the Massachusetts Joint Committee during one of these hearings. In my testimony, I shared a simple personal conviction. 23 years ago, I moved to Massachusetts in search of freedom. Freedom, in essence, is the ability to say no based on individual conscience or religious conviction. I believe everyone should have the right to decide what goes into their bodies. Religious exemptions exist to protect that freedom of conscience. This example illustrates the tension between natural rights and expanding government authority. President Gerald Ford once said, "A government big enough to give you everything you want is a government big enough to take from you everything you have." Over the last decade, I have witnessed the state where I live becoming increasingly similar to the country I once left, where freedom of conscience and belief is restricted. I ran for office because I do not want my children and grandchildren to lose the freedoms our founders worked so hard to secure. During my campaign, I often reflected on these two worlds and how easily any system can drift toward tyranny. A healthy republic depends not only on institutions, but also on citizens who understand the true nature of rights. If we forget the difference between natural rights and entitlement claims, we risk expanding government power while weakening the liberties that sustain a free society. Understanding this distinction is essential for preserving liberty. Now let's look at some common questions. Question 1. Why can expanding entitlement rights weaken natural rights? It may seem compassionate to expand entitlement rights. When government promises benefits such as financial assistance, housing support, healthcare subsidies, or other social programs, it may appear that society is helping those in need. However, entitlement rights differ fundamentally from natural rights. Natural rights are freedoms that exist before government. They protect individuals from government interference and allow people to live according to conscience, faith, and personal responsibility. Rights such as freedom of speech, religious liberty, and due process limit government power. Entitlement rights work in the opposite direction. Instead of limiting government, they require government to expand its authority in order to collect resources from some people and distribute them to others. Over time, this expansion of power often follows a troubling pattern that can resemble a three-stage cancer. The first stage is inefficiency. Large government programs become increasingly complex and difficult to manage. Bureaucracies grow, and decision-making slows as systems expand. The second stage is fraud and abuse. When large amounts of public money are distributed through complicated systems, opportunities for corruption often increase. History shows that even well-intended programs can attract misuse and waste. The third stage is the most dangerous, the erosion of freedom. As government power grows, dissent begins to be treated as a threat rather than a legitimate voice in public debate, and those who question the system may find their voices suppressed. The American founders understood this danger. That is why the Constitution and the Bill of Rights emphasize natural rights that limit government authority. The most troubling outcome occurs when a culture of dependence on welfare and entitlement programs begins to take root. As people grow accustomed to relying on government support rather than opportunity and personal effort, society can fall into a destructive cycle. Over time, a nation may lose the spirit of independence and responsibility that sustains a healthy republic. Protecting natural rights, therefore, requires constant vigilance so that government remains a servant of the people rather than their master. Question 2. Who is responsible for caring for the poor? Government, church, or society? Concern for the poor is deeply rooted in biblical teaching. Throughout Scripture, God calls His people to care for those in need, to show generosity, and to practice justice and compassion. But the Bible also presents a vision of responsibility that involves more than government programs alone. In the Old Testament, families and communities played a central role in supporting the vulnerable. For example, in the book of Leviticus, God instructed farmers not to harvest the edges of their fields. Instead, they were to leave some grain behind so that the poor and the foreigner could gather food for themselves. This practice, often called gleaning, provided help for the poor while still preserving personal dignity and effort. In the New Testament, the early church became a powerful example of voluntary compassion. The book of Acts tells us that believers shared what they had and cared for those in need among them. They supported widows, the sick, and the poor within their community. These examples reveal an important principle. Caring for the poor is primarily the voluntary, self-motivated, God-pleasing responsibility of families, communities, churches, and civil society, not the role of government through forced redistribution. A free society also creates opportunity through economic freedom. Systems that protect property rights, encourage entrepreneurship, and reward hard work create pathways for people to rise out of poverty. When individuals are free to start businesses, pursue education, and build livelihoods, prosperity can grow across entire communities. At the same time, churches play a unique role. Christian compassion addresses not only material needs, but also spiritual and moral formation. Through discipleship, mentorship, and community support, churches help people develop discipline, responsibility, and hope. Government can still play a limited role in maintaining order and providing a basic safety net. But when government becomes the primary provider for social welfare, it can weaken the very institutions, families, churches, and communities that nurture character and responsibility. Helping the poor is never simple, and societies must wrestle with difficult decisions about compassion and policy. Yet Scripture reminds us that lasting transformation often begins in the heart. When families are strong, churches are active, and individuals are free to pursue opportunity, people are better equipped to overcome poverty and build lives marked by dignity, responsibility, and faith. In this way, protecting natural rights, such as freedom of conscience, speech, and opportunity, creates the conditions where both liberty and compassion can flourish in a healthy republic. This session concludes our journey through the biblical foundations of American liberty. Over the past 8 sessions, we have explored the principles behind the Declaration of Independence, the structure of the Constitution, and the protections found in the Bill of Rights. Together, these ideas form a remarkable system designed to preserve freedom while recognizing the moral authority of God. Congratulations on completing this study. My hope is that you now see more clearly how America's founding principles were shaped by biblical truths about human dignity and sin, moral responsibility, and limited government. The work of preserving liberty, however, does not end with understanding these ideas. Each generation must rediscover them, cherish them, and defend them with wisdom and courage. Liberty endures when a free people remember that their rights come from God, their government is limited, and their responsibility is to guard freedom for the next generation.